Welcome back to Warpaint TV, Tuesday, January 19th, 2010. Once again, I'm Shane Williams here with Chiefs Insider Nick Athan. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing good, Shane.
Hey.
All clean shaven. Look, you're all grown up today.
2 weeks. You
weeks.
called it 2 weeks ago. Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss were rumored. You brought the inside scoop on that about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Now they're here. Now they're signed, sealed, delivered. What changes do you feel they will bring to the staff? Do you think Clancy Pendergast is gone? Where do you think he's going to go?
Well, first, as far as Clancy goes, I think he'll stay as a defensive backs coach at this point. Todd Haley's going to want to keep some of these guys around. He brought him from Arizona. He's under contract for another year. And, if Romeo's fine with it, and I'm sure based on the fact that Romeo might become the highest paid defensive coordinator, along with Charlie Weiss being the highest paid offensive coordinator to come to Kansas City, I think these guys are going to have say on their staff. But Todd may be able to keep Clancy around. I mean, he did a terrible job as defensive coordinator. I don't particularly think he's all that great of a coach by any means, but if he can work with the cornerbacks, I think that's fine. But as far as what these guys bring, setting all that other thing aside, it gives the Chiefs all of a sudden some street credibility when it comes to free agents. It gives them credibility, and the players that they're going to keep in the locker room, because these guys have Super Bowl rings, 3 I think between them, or 3 each. I think Weiss may actually have 5. They're going to design an offense that's going to work. It's going to be, I think, more New England type versus what Todd Haley brought from Arizona. And I think defensively you're going to see the 3-4 defense, but you're going to see some 4-3 that are going to allow the Chiefs maybe to get more out of a Glenn Dorsey or a Tyson Jackson. They're certainly going to have to make some decisions in the draft to fix the defensive line. But, if Todd Haley stays out of the way, which I think he'll do to some degree, these guys can run the offense, run the defense, and I think all of a sudden he's got probably one of the most veteran staffs around him. Again, the assistants are going to be really important because Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel are very hands-on, and what they demand of their assistant coaches is to make sure that they're in the defensive line room or the offensive line room or the quarterback's room, whatever it may be, that those coaches adhere to exactly what they're trying to do. So I think that's going to be good. I think you're going to bring some structure to the organization that's sorely needed in the coaching staff, because I think the coaching staff honestly did a terrible job from the top to the bottom last year. Yeah, they were handicapped by some things, but at the end of the day, this is a good move for the Chiefs, one we clearly thought was going to happen. It was very obvious that it was going to happen, especially when Charlie Weiss was in Kansas City before he got fired from Notre Dame. Pretty good sign that he was coming here. So good move for the organization. I'm really excited that we've got 2 legitimate coaches now that can balance out Todd Haley's I don't want to say immaturity as a head coach, but his lack of experience more than anything else. So it's going to be good to have these guys in the fold.
And now from our premium members from Alpha Man, if there was one decision Pioli and Haley could go back and change, what would it be? Trading for Castle and Vrabel, trading Tony Gonzalez, drafting Tyson Jackson over Curry, cutting Bernard Pollard, keeping and starting Larry Johnson, or taking the Chiefs' job?
Well, I don't know. I think Pioli obviously, again, these conversations started months before he was going to come to Kansas City. There was no question in my mind. It was just a matter of working everything out. So I don't think the last one's going to issue. I don't think he has any regrets for trading Tony Gonzalez. I think it was a good move. I mean, the second-round pick's going to be, and I think in the mid-second round. This draft is very deep for Chiefs' needs at offensive tackle, offensive line, a linebacker, wide receiver. I mean, there's some top-notch wide receivers that can be available in the second round that the Chiefs can get that are first-round guys. So I don't think he has any regrets there. Bernard Pollard, that was just that was an ego coaching thing. That was probably not a good move. Castle Vrabel, I don't think they have any regrets. Jackson Curry, my personal is that was a huge mistake. But Curry didn't do very well down the stretch. He really struggled the last 8 games of the year. So I think keeping LJ was probably the biggest mistake this organization made. And I know why they did it. They did it because they changed the playbook, 8 days before the start of the regular season. They knew Jamal Charles was not going to be able to make that adjustment. I think they saw that he had a lot of potential. But keeping LJ and allowing the distraction, allowing him to say the slur that he did, I mean, the guy was done. He was done a year and a half ago. He was probably done 2.5 years ago. Well, maybe not that long. But, he didn't want to be in Kansas City. He found a great way to get out of town. And he executed his plan, and now he's in Cincinnati. Where he's going to be next year remains to be seen. But I don't think we've seen the last of Larry Johnson in the National Football League. But I think that was their biggest mistake. I think if they'd sent that message early on, gotten rid of this guy before OTAs, mini camps, and training camps, I think that would have delivered a better message to the organization.
And from Will's Dog, out of the current linebackers on the roster, which four do you want returning as to the Chiefs next year?
Well, if you're talking starters, I mean, Tom Holly, obviously, he's under contract. He's going to be back. Demoria Williams, 14 or 115 tackles, and when the front three is so bad as it was, well, they weren't bad, but in the situations that they were in, they were really forced to have a linebacker step up and make plays. So I think he'll stay. I don't think there's any place for Mike Vrabel on this football team. I think he's done. I don't think the Chiefs can get anything out of him. I hope they bring Derek Johnson back. I think it'd be a huge mistake to let him go. It would be a big mistake because I think this guy, under Romeo Crennel, will turn into an all-pro linebacker. I've been touting this guy, and he's just had a bad lot with, changing defensive philosophies, to changing defensive coaches, to playing inside, playing outside, playing middle linebacker, now going to a 3-4 scheme, which he wasn't familiar with. Listen, we saw what he can do at the end last of the season against Denver. Get him in open space, and he can make plays. So I think that of the linebackers that come back, I think Tamba is certainly a lock, and I hope Derek Johnson. Demoria Williams, I think they could find that in the draft. Good against the run, but he wasn't very good against the pass. And he got those tackles because the front three, weren't making plays and getting pressure on the quarterback, and they did draws and screens and things like that. He slid to the ball. He did a good job. But, I think Corey Mays, I don't want him back. I don't think he really brings anything. Javon Belcher will start for this team next year. And I think Andy Studebaker has an outside opportunity. These are Crennel kind of guys. So I think you're going to see these guys on the football field for the Chiefs next year.
It was good to hear on NBC 41 last week. Jack Carey caught up with Derek Johnson at KCI, and Derek Johnson had some nice things to say about Romeo Crennel coming. He seemed like he was real excited about it. And our last question from our premium member, from Marathon Mike: will the Chiefs draft another quarterback in the later rounds, or will Brody Crowell be back?
I hope they sign Brody. Of all the off-season moves they have to make, and I think I posted this on the message board a couple of weeks ago, they need a guy like this. Todd Haley really likes Brody Crowell. He wanted him to start in week 2. That's when he and Scott Pioli started to have a little difference of opinion as the status of what they wanted to do with this offense. He has experience. Ironically, I had breakfast this morning with Terry Shea, the old quarterbacks coach, and he and I have spent a lot of time talking quarterbacks and a lot of time talking about Brody Crowell. He made a really interesting point this morning, and he said, the Chiefs should have given this kid a couple of years to just get adjusted to the NFL because he'd come off injuries. He was, he's only 209 pounds, and they didn't. They rushed him. They forced him into it. He wasn't quite ready for it. I think right now Brody Crowell is ready to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I think he's going to draw interest if he's an unrestricted free agent, which, at this point is still kind of a gray area. With the collective bargaining agreement still up in the air whether they're going to have a capped or uncapped year. But I think they have to sign him. I think that he should compete next year with Matt Castle. I think that that's really the only way you're going to see the best come out of Matt Castle. Gutierrez is a nice quarterback, but I think Brody gives this team NFL experience as a starter. Yeah, it was mangled in injuries and a lot of opportunities that went by the wayside because the kid couldn't stay healthy. But he still has the best young arm I've seen in any Chiefs quarterback in the history of the organization. I think that if you put a good cast around him, I think he can do well. And look what he did opening week in Baltimore. Look where the Ravens got pretty far in the postseason. So I think, again, give this kid an opportunity. Let him compete next year with Castle. I think it'll be good for both of them. But the Chiefs have to have an experienced backup because if they don't address the offensive line in the offseason, then obviously we're going to be in a situation where we may need the backup quarterback again like we did to start the season this past year.
You heard it here first from Chiefs insider Nick Athan. We'd like to thank our premium members from WarPaintIllustrated.com with their questions. We'll be back again real soon. Until then, keep it right here at WarPaintIllustrated.com.